Hello! Welcome to the turret of pleasure here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I'm the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom, Zipcon. Sitting here playing video games, having myself a good old time in my dotage. Just listening to records, watching the spy cam over at the studio where Microphonic Fool is processing many videos, including the ones you watch on this channel, to whom I am indebted forever. Taking care of some things. I had a story. I've done a couple of these now. What I call the Feelgood Stories, and these ones make me feel good. And I figure, well, what the heck? Life is so tough nowadays. Maybe I'll try and share these. So this one is about a recent gift. My daughter, the Princess Manethia, was in Chemainus Up Island at a sort of a boutique. Now, boutiques are different. They're not thrift stores. Thrift stores are everything is stupidly cheap. It's like, really? Okay, well, shit, I don't even need this, but I'll buy it. Boutiques are different. Boutiques are thrift stores where everything's $20 or $100, depending on, oh, it's rare. And so boutiques I find tedious, particularly when they start dabbling in things like records and CDs, because they're never run by people who know anything about these things. And so they'll put out a scratched Beatles record from 1975, and they'll ask $50 for it. So you just know you're wasting your time looking through any of these things. So, she was up there looking through this place, and she did something that she doesn't do often. She messaged me on Messenger, sent me a photo, and said, hey, look at this cool CD I found. And Princess Manethia knows her dad pretty well. She knows he's a weirdo. And she knows he likes creative stuff. And and she's figured out some of the hallmarks for, what constitutes something Dad would like. And one of the things is, is it different? Anyway, she was in this store, and apparently they had a selection of compact discs. And she found one that she thought, I wonder if Dad would like this. So she texts me with a photo of the front and back of the CD. And I couldn't believe it. This flood of memories came over me. Because it was the first CD I ever heard in my life. And a CD that I subsequently have never been able to find a copy of. And so she goes, what do you think? I go, buy it, please. I think it was like $7. Hey, it was, real money. But I was really happy. And it is, and this is going to be weird, right? Because, okay, Dollar Brand and Archie Ship duet. And the reason she thought it was cool, because there's a lot of Japanese writing on this, which of course means it's different. Now, yes, so this was the first CD I ever listened to play. And the story behind this is a great one, because take you back to, and I tried to do some research on this, I'm pretty sure it was 1983. And in 1983, I worked at a record store in Victoria called A&B Sound, which was basically the Western Canadian equivalent of Tower Records. It was what I call a catalog store. That is to say, they had accounts with every major label. And as a sort of policy, they would carry basically everything on that label's catalog, at least one copy of. And when they would sell it, there was a system where they would reorder it, and this would go on until the record was no longer in the company's catalog, and then they would not sell it anymore. But it was a very, very big, major record retailer, And like most of these, it also sold a lot of stereo equipment. And sort of adjacent to A&B Sound, which was 2 stories, there's a big store right downtown Victoria. And there was a guy who had set up an electronics repair place in the same building, but I don't think he was part of A&B Sound. God, I should know this. But and he was a buddy, a guy named Fred Wireman, and he ran what they called high-tech auto. And people would go into A&B Sound and say, "Can you fix my stereo?" And they go, "Well, it's one we don't carry, but the guy up here can do it." And Fred was up there forever. He did a million repairs for me. A really nice guy. Played drums for the Sick Fucks, who turned into the Dayglow Abortions. So, you know, he's got cred to burn, and he's a neat, quirky guy. He and I love a lot of the same music. And Fred had gone to Japan to a trade show, and had come back with one of these newfangled CD players. They weren't available in North America yet. They were brand new. He brought back with him this, I can't remember what CD player it was or anything, but he also brought back, of course, a selection of compact discs. And, of course, and anybody who remembers this era will remember that compact discs were scarce. There weren't many titles. If you could find them, they were amazingly expensive. Every man jack of them was $30, I remember. And there was, you know, no selection, no supply. It took until, what is it? Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree was the big breakthrough. Anyways, he brought back a group of CDs, a bunch of which were just stuff I didn't even know what they were, and 2 of which I recognized, one of which was Santana Marathon, a record I have never liked and continue to dislike intensely, and this. And I didn't know anything about this, but I did know that Dollar Brand was really good. I loved Dollar Brand. By this point, I'd already discovered his piano music of the 70s, and I was just crazy about it. So when they took this CD player, "Hey guys, Fred's back from Japan. Let's go into the studio, the sound room, where they had the stereos with the big speakers. Let's go hook it up and see what it sounds like." Sure. So, of course, you get all these knuckleheads that don't know anything about anything. We go in there, we hook it up to a fucking 200-watt receiver, and we plug it into some 3-way whatever, JBLs or some ridiculous thing, in this tiny little room, completely stone dead, full of audio equipment, and we play, I think they might have played Marathon first, and they had it up at a volume that would have exterminated bugs, and with this, it just sounded terrible. I mean, I remember thinking, oh my God, this is hurting my ears. It's brash, and all the things that analog nuts complain about digital. And that didn't exist in those days. Digital was fucking perfect, don't you know? So we're supposed to, and of course everybody there is like, wow, isn't this sound amazing? And I alone, amongst everybody, went, it kind of sounds really bright and hard and not very good. And so they're like, of course, you know, because I was the guy, I was always the different guy. So then they said, well, you know, and they said, well, what are these other CDs? And I said, well, I'd like to hear this one. Because they went, oh, who's that? Dolly Brand, I love him, he's a great pianist. Now this is, let's explain what this is. This is a Denon recording from 1982, Nippon Columbia, 3,800 yen, that's like almost $40 in those days. That's a lot of fucking money. And this was a record, now there's a lot of records like this out there. They're on Japanese labels, produced by Yoshio Ozawa. Now, I would be very surprised if Archie and Dollar had made the decision to make a record together. I think this was Mr. Ozawa. I think it was his idea. Sadly, I do not speak Kenji or read Kenji, so I can't. These liner notes are probably quite illuminating. An Archie Shepp original, a Dave Burrell with Marion Brown song, a Mal Waldron song, a Yuji Ono song? Who? Oh, the theme from The Proof of Man. and then $2 brand originals. When we played this in the sound room, it was almost unlistenable. The saxophone sounded like a kazoo. The piano sounded like it was made out of solid steel. It didn't have much warmth. If I remember correctly, these early Denons were 14-bit. This doesn't say 14-bit, but it wouldn't shock me. The really early Denons were 14-bit. They're a little bit, I don't know, they're okay. It's just not going to say, is it? PCM recording, it does say. They were pretty proud. And again, of course, the fact that there was absolutely no surface noise or any of that kind of thing, would just trumped everything. I was like, oh my God, it's so great. So anyway, that was the first time I ever listened to a CD. And I came away from it thinking it didn't sound very good. Certainly I didn't think this sounded very good. Now, as time passed, of course, I came to realize that there's a lot of factors that go into what makes a CD sound good or not good. The one that dawned on me much later in the game was that the system we had played it on was not a great system. It was not set up very well. It was in a bad room. It was too loud. And I think they turned the treble up. So I thought, okay. But I went through the early years of digital thinking that digital was harsh. Digital. The analog warmth. That's what we all craved. Sadly, analog warmth always came accompanied by ticks and pops and swishes, which drove me nuts. And so gradually I started coming, I made peace with the digital format. But I kept thinking to myself, too bad they can't sort out why it sounds bad. And then one fine day, CDs started becoming affordable, which was great because I wasn't going to buy a lot of them at 3,800 yen, that's for sure. And EMI came out with, now I wonder if it's here. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time looking for it, but I believe it's a Cupram CD. Came out in a series Studio, EMI Studio, and it was a mid-price series. I think they were $8.99 on sale, and they put out a lot of neat stuff. And it was all old analog recordings of. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not it. They put out a bunch of, this is it. Yeah, okay. Just because I'm a weird nerd, I put all the label stuff together. So this was available for $9. Louis Cupram by Gus Lenhard. Gus Lenhard. Now, because this is a reissue, they kind of changed the design of the cover a bit. And so I bought this. I bought a bunch of these at the same time. Took it home, and to my somewhat dismay, discovered I already had it on LP. I had it on a nice French EMI LP. Perfect shape. Lovely piece of wax. About as good as it gets in France, anyway. And so, because I was playing an old Quad of England preamp at the time, which had the great feature of silent buttons to switch between inputs. And so you could line up a CD and an LP, and if you could line up the volumes properly, you could A-B very quickly. And that was when I discovered that with this and the French record on at the same time, if I A-B, and I would get other people to do it for me, I couldn't tell the difference. And that's when I realized, hold it a sec. The digital sounds exactly like the analog, except that if I listened for a few seconds, I could hear all the analog artifacts in the analog. Other than that, there wasn't a different curve. We had to adjust the volume because, of course, it was mastered in a slightly different volume. But after a while, we realized they were identical for all intents and purposes. And that was when I realized that digital was the way to go, because it's, it's easier and it's better. So this, I finally get to listen to this. When was this? 1983. So, 43 years later. Finally got a copy to listen to. Now, what's it sound like? You ask. It sounds pretty good. One of the reasons I don't think I liked it was because at the time I first heard this, I wasn't very familiar with Archie Shepp. I was pretty familiar with Dollar Brand, but most of Dollar Brand's recordings I had heard were not very good recordings on beat-up pianos in bars in Denmark. This is much more clinical, and Archie Shepp plays soprano, alto, and tenor on this. And he's got he's sort of turned himself into, he went from the firebrand, avant-garde, crazy person of the 60s, and he kind of mellowed into, I read somewhere they said he was like a Ben Webster kind of guy, which is actually kind of true, but he has a very sharp sound, a real attack, not quite Arthur Blythe, but he can hear the reed, and that is definitely in this recording. But it's a very accurate recording. There's not a lot of space around it. I mean, there's some space around it, and it's actually a really. I mean, it's what it sounded like, and so I found I could listen to it because I'm listening to it on a OK system here and not on a sound booth at A&B Sound. As it turns out, that for a really early digital recording, it's actually pretty darn good, and it's still probably better than any analog recording of the era. So there you go. We've squared the circle. Princess Manethia, thank you very much. And that's my kind of weird little feel-good story for this segment of my life. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And we will continue discussing music, art, and things that are pleasant to talk about. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you later.